Hey guys, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. We're going to be discussing Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon and Netflix's bizarre choice to release the PG-13 cut of the movie when Zack Snyder has recently come out and said that his R-rated cut is the actual real version of the movie, leaving fans puzzled as to why it wasn't released in the first place. But guys, if you are new around here, consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the movie news that we have going on this channel. But for now, we're going to jump into this article here from the Sci-Fi and Fantasy Gazette. So Rebel Moon director Zack Snyder teases R-rated cut to be more brutal, more bizarre, and a lot of fun. So, an R-rated extended cut of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire is on its way, and director Zack Snyder has now given fans a better idea of what to expect. Yeah, so a lot of the audience are very puzzled and sort of perplexed as to why Netflix decided to release the PG-13 cut of the movie, when the actual real movie is the R-rated version, as Zack Snyder has already said. And it's not like it's a theatrical release where they needed to water down the violence. You know, they needed to cut down the runtime to get more people in seats, to have more showings, and to make more money. This movie released on a streaming service where, you know, you're free to make the movie as violent as you want, as long as you want. It doesn't really matter. So why they released the PG version first is kind of strange. But to a lot of people, it seems to be obvious that they're trying to artificially create this kind of, you know, release the Snyder cut or release the Rebel cut, if you like. They're trying to get that kind of advertising campaign going. And also, it's a double dip. They've got people to watch the PG version, and then they want people to come back and watch the extended R-rated version. So they're sort of double dipping on the same movie to get people interested in the same movie, but twice. But it's very weird why they didn't just release the R-rated cut in the first place if it's a better version of the movie. So why should we, as you know, as movie fans, have to sit through a worse version of the movie when you're sitting on a better version of the same movie? It doesn't make sense. It kind of backfired. It just pissed a lot of people off that we're kind of almost watching like a demo version of the movie of what it should have been. Very, very strange indeed. But guys, let's keep reading and see what we can learn. We've also got an interview clip of Zack Snyder talking about this extended cut. So we're going to have a little watch of that as well and see what the director himself actually has to say about this. The PG-13 cut of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, is currently streaming on Netflix, doesn't exactly shy away from the violence. It also includes an unsettling sexual assault scene, but it's abundantly clear that multiple sequences have been edited to remove the really violent stuff. Yeah, for example, there's a scene where there's a fight going on and someone has a gun put to their chin. A bullet goes off, goes through the person's chin, up through their skull, comes out the top of their head, and you expect to see sort of blood kind of gush out the top of the head, but it's just not there, and it's clearly, it's sort of clear to anybody that it was obviously removed, which is a shame because, you know, we want to see some good violence, especially from a headshot. But an R-rated extended version of A Child of Fire is on its way. No premiere date has been announced, although it's probably going to come out obviously before Part 2, that would make sense. And during an interview with Yahoo UK, director Zack Snyder gave fans a better idea of what to expect. So we have an interview clip with Zack Snyder talking about the R-rated extended version of the movie. So let's go over and have a look at that clip and see what he has to say for himself.
It's pretty brutal what we see in the what's called the PG-13 version, I think.
This is the very tame version.
How more extreme will the director's cut be?
Way more brutal. It's way more, but it's also more bizarre. It's just more. It's more Verhoeven-esque, I guess, if you want to think about it in those ways. You know, it's more RoboCop than you know, in the way that kind of uses violence as like another character, you know. And we have and also there's a lot of sex in it too, in the R-rated version. You know, there's a lot of sex and a lot of violence and a lot of sci-fi fantasy. So it really heavy metals itself pretty insanely.
Yeah, so that was just a small interview segment with Zack Snyder talking about the extended cut and what we can expect from this R-rated version of the movie. He doesn't go into detail about, you know, why there's two different versions of the movie or why they decided to put the PG cut out first. You know, was it Netflix's decision to do that? Was it Zack Snyder's decision to do that? We don't really know. Whether we're ever going to find out what the reasoning is behind it, who knows? But as I say, they're doing two different cuts of the movie, double dipping down on the movie. But guys, here as well, we've got a Zack Snyder shared a frame from the Rebel Moon director cut on Vero. So we have a picture here. It doesn't really show a whole lot. It shows the robot and it shows the deer here with the antlers. I'm guessing that's where he gets the antlers from in the movie. But yeah, it's just a frame from the movie. It doesn't really show us a whole lot. But it's kind of that tangibilization of, you know, the cut itself, showing that it is a real thing. That he's posted a frame of it, you know, onto Vero. And yeah, so that's kind of where we are with that. So what we're going to do, we're going to hop over to YouTube. We're going to have a read of some of the comments on that interview that we just watched and see what people are saying about this kind of R-rated version of the movie and see if people are excited or confused or what comments they have to say about it. So landing over here on the YouTube channel from that interview that we watched, let's go down and read these comments. So I enjoyed it. I didn't think I would. Looking forward to part 2. Yeah, I actually quite enjoyed the movie myself. There was a lot of strange stuff like the exposition dumps. And as I say, you could tell the scenes were jarring. They didn't seem to fit together. The missing of the kind of the R-rated material as well was a bit jarring. But, you know, it definitely got me interested enough to go back and check out the extended R-rated version. And I think that's the same for a lot of people. And I think that's what Netflix were hoping. And like I say, they got me interested in watching that. And I'm definitely interested in watching part 2. As I say, because I thought part 1 was quite fun. Even if there were, you know, problems with it. So the PG-13 was okay. Not Snyder's best, and a few jarringly dumb moments. Yeah, I completely agree with that. But still entertaining, I agree with that as well. But I couldn't escape the feeling it was neutered, the action was clipped. I remain generally hopeful that the R-rated cut is as violent as he says, because the movie needed that edge. I wanted heavy metal meets Star Wars, and it sounded like we may get that. Yeah, I mean, if this movie comes out, the R-rated version, and it, like he says, it's a completely different version of the movie, the violence, you know, the extended scenes, the character development, if it is as different as he is saying, then, you know, we could definitely be in for a massive improvement with this movie. Considering that Snyder was given a total creative freedom for this one, there's no reason for the director's cut. Yeah, this is the thing that doesn't make any sense for fans. You know, it's so confusing. It's not releasing in the, you know, in the theaters where you have to water down the violence and make the runtime shorter, as I've been saying, guys. It released on a streaming service where you are free to do whatever you want. So the fact that there's a director's cut is very strange. You should have just made the original film the director's cut itself. But that's what's made a lot of people confused. So especially since it wasn't given a major theatrical release, making it very risk-free, yeah, which is what I've been saying, commercially speaking. It's basically saying that the audience is wasting their time with that version that's currently available on Netflix. Yeah, it feels like, you know, when a video game gets released and, you know, it's not fully working, it's buggy, you know, the developers have to patch it, it's not working when it's released. It kind of feels like that. It's like, we're watching a movie, but there's a lot of stuff missing from it. It's buggy. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work properly. And you're thinking like, why am I wasting my time? And I'm being charged full price for this. You know, we shouldn't have to sit through the kind of fake version of the movie or the fake version of the game when we buy a game. We should get the full release, you know, when we pay for it and when we expect it as the consumer. Very strange, very strange. Cannot wait for the director's cut and both watch together as one. I was hyped for this film, and the PG-13 cut was not it at all. They should have released them at the same time. The thing is that they could have done as well. So if they were worried about having the PG, you know, version being more kind of open to kind of younger audiences or people who, you know, don't like R-rated material, why did they not release both versions of the movie at the same time? And then when you're on Netflix, you click on Rebel Moon, and it should just have the choice. Do you want to watch the R-rated version or do you want to watch the PG-13 version? You could choose which version of the movie you wanted to watch. There was no reason they couldn't have released both versions at the same time. As I say, they just wanted to artificially create this Snyder Cut movement again, but with, you know, the Rebel Moon movie, and they wanted to double dip on the movie as well, get people interested in watching both versions of the movie, which is kind of smart. You can say it's annoying and it has pissed people off, but it is a smart marketing idea, to be fair. He had me at heavy metal. The PG-13 version was good. The R-rated movie will be even better. Yeah, but we shouldn't have to sit through a worse version of the movie. You know, like, we shouldn't have to be kind of forced into watching this kind of worse version of the movie. And then we all watch it, and then it comes out and says, haha, this isn't the actual version of the movie. You're like, what? Could you imagine if you bought any other product, you know, from any other kind of industry? Imagine if you bought a car, and then, like, a week later, the manufacturer came out and said, haha, you bought the crap version of the car. This is the better version of the car. And you're like, well, you know, why didn't you tell me that beforehand, you know? I feel like most of the character moments, character bonding moments were also cut out. Yeah, it does feel like that. It feels like there was no character development apart from, you know, Cora, the main character. All the other characters were kind of lacking in that department. They didn't really have character arcs or development. And then when they started giving these expositions, kind of speeches and dumps, it kind of felt empty and hollow. It was absolutely breathtaking from start to finish. Fantastic movie. I'm looking forward to part 2, then the director's cut. I wouldn't say it was breathtaking from start to finish. There were definitely really fun parts in there. The fight scenes were great. The exposition dumps were a little bit weird. You know, these characters that we didn't really even know, they were kind of giving these weird speeches, and it's like, nobody talks like that. It sounded kind of weird at some points. But overall, I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the R-rated version, although we should have got that in the first place, as I keep saying. Was a good watch. Yeah, it was fun. It was definitely, you know, it was definitely fun. It was definitely piqued my interest for part 2, that's for sure. So Zack and his DLC movies are at it again. Yeah, I mean, when you think of Zack Snyder movies, I mean, how many director's cuts has he got? So we got Dawn of the Dead, there was an extended cut. Sucker Punch was an extended cut. The Watchmen, there was an extended cut. We had, Batman v Superman was an extended cut. Justice League, there was an extended cut. Now we got Rebel Moon extended cut. So yeah, I'm not sure if there was an extended cut for 300. I'll have to fact check that. But yeah, there's so many of his movies where there's like extended cuts. And it's kind of strange why they're just not put out in the first place. I'm a big Snyder fan, but this one felt like a half-baked for some reason. Yeah, as I say, the character developments and the character arcs and the character bonding and the chemistry kind of felt a little bit lacking, as though that some scenes were missing. You know, some important information was kind of left out of the film. It seems an unfinished movie, but hastily put together. I wish I could be posting about the R-rated cut now. Yeah, it'd be curious as to see when this R-rated cut's going to come out. Obviously, it has to come out before part 2, surely. Otherwise, that wouldn't make sense. And the part 2, when does part 2 come out? April, is it? So I would expect we're going to get the R-rated cut sometime February, March, possibly. So along with the director's cut of part 2, there will be a total of 4 new terrible movies lying around. So yeah, are they going to do the same for part 2? Are we going to get a PG version of part 2 that we're going to have to suffer through in order to see the R-rated part 2 version? I mean, if that's the case, nobody's going to watch part 2 when it first comes out because we're just going to wait for the R-rated version. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out. We'll read a few more here, guys, and then we'll finish off the video. This PG-13 is just for Christmas. The adult movie comes 2024, I hope. Not 5 years later like Justice League. Nah, it's definitely going to come out before part 2, I'm pretty sure. So how did destroying a gun turret destroy the whole Star Destroyer? I don't care about space and how ships work. Okay, I got it. Part 2, Mary Sue stomps the Death Star. Yeah, guys, so part of this interview that we didn't actually see, he says, you know, when he was making this movie, he didn't really care about the physics of how, you know, space and spaceships and travel works. He was just making it to make it look cool, which is fair enough. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a movie, it's entertaining. We don't really need real life physics in a space opera movie, so I get that. But that scene where obviously the ship is destroyed and the turret is destroyed on the ship, but the whole ship goes down. So the turret on the ship was also the controller of the ship. It didn't really make sense. For those of you who have watched it, you'll understand what I'm saying. For those of you who haven't, it's kind of out of context. But yeah, you'll definitely understand what I mean if you've seen the movie. But yeah, guys, there we are. So kind of a strange marketing, you know, move on Netflix's kind of choice of putting out a PG-13 movie before putting out the R-rated cut, trying to get this kind of double dip of the movie and also trying to instigate this kind of release the Rebel cut, you know, marketing campaign going. But I think it's just backlash and just pissed a lot of people off. So we'll have to see what happens with the R-rated cut being released, and also if they're going to do the same thing with part 2, having a PG-13 version and an R-rated version with part 2. We'll have to see how all that all turns out, guys. But jump into the comment section, let me know what you think about this. Did it piss you off, the fact that you had to sit through kind of like the fake version of the movie before the R-rated cut, which they should have put out in the first place, seeing as it was on a streaming service? I'm really curious as to see what you guys have to say about this. For me, yeah, it was kind of annoying, the fact that an R-rated version now exists. But, you know, it piqued my interest enough to go back and check out the R-rated version and part 2 when it is released. So, guys, like I say, jump in the comment section. Let me know what you think. I'm really curious as to hear your comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.